Hello out there in Videoland, it's me again, Lazy Video Gamer. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of the Sega Mega CD, especially for Dune. But I'm too lazy to talk about this game. Instead, I show you this.
I'm just a lazy video gamer, even too lazy to make a new intro. Hello out there in Witherland, it's me again, fresh out and back from my vacation. As I promised you, one day I show you some footage of Saturn games on my self-modded Saturn arcade one-up, and which better opportunity would be than the start of the third season from the Lazy Video Gamer Show. Let's kick it. So, before I get started, I just want to mention that yes, the design isn't final for my cap. I'm thinking about to brand it in a new different style. And here you see this little amp that I bought. I got now some hi-fi stereo speakers hidden in the cab for, of course, a fantastic sound. Why I changed it? Easily said, the other speakers, those USB speakers that I had, yeah, sometimes only the left one or only the right one functioned properly, so I decided to hook up a little amplifier in it, and yeah, cost me around maybe 25 or 30 bucks. So, and of course now I'm coming to, I have a little pile of games down there. I play, of course, a round or two in each game. Grab your popcorn, grab your beer, your coffee, your soft drink or your milk, cause this will be a long video. And of course, I'm gonna jump right in one of my favorite games of the Saturn, the original Daytona. Why I love this game more than the remake, the Championship Coco Edition, I like the graphics more, if I be honest, even with the clipping that existing. Daytona USA, one of three starting titles, of course. When the system hits the stars, we were advised to sell the system and those three starting titles as a bundle together, and the price was, when I remember correct, around $1,000. But yeah, I was back then in the business, so as a salesperson, so I want to be fair and sold the games separately, because not everyone liked every genre that who are in this free games or bundle included. So my boss wasn't happy about that I sold each item separately, but the customers were. So the next game, as I mentioned, of course, is, if you're familiar with this game, you know what comes now or what follows now. A very long intro. I'll skip that, cause if you don't have the game, you should watch it by yourself, you should play it by yourself, but just for a little, let me say, sneak peek. It should do that. So, yes, and also skipping that. Of course, Panzer Dragoon as I mentioned, one of the starting titles. And it reminds me of a little bit, of course, of Afterburn and, of course, Space Harrier. I never was a big Space Harrier player, but of course, when the Saturn was in the reach for me, as I mentioned, it was very expensive. It was one of those games you couldn't miss it out. Like in the start days, from the N64 there were only these 2 or 3 games available. So what is still cool in these days, that you can swap the camera around you and shoot in other directions. Then only that direction you're flying. It's basically a rail shooter. With this little camera twist. With a little practice, I would come a little bit further, but yeah, come on. Sega and the Sega Sports brand brings us one of the most popular sports in Europe, of course, soccer. International Victory Goal was the first of 3 soccer games from Sega on the Saturn. I only pick for this show the first out because, as I mentioned, it was a starting title and it's very arcadey, and that's what I liked about those 3 starting titles, or the Sega games generally. They were mostly very arcadey. Just for explaining back, there's of course several modes like Exhibition, World League, Super League or Special League. Don't know what the S means. There is a possibility of cup, after playing a cup tournament, and of course a penalty shootout, and also options, an options menu. But talked enough. You have only these 10 teams. 12. Okay. And on the reason we don't like in our country, in our part of country, the Germans so much, I'll take Britain or England. Exactly, sad as opponent. It is funny because I mentioned it. We don't like the Germans in soccer generally, because coming out of the German-spoken part of Switzerland, and they are very close. And it's always funny when Germany plays soccer against Italy. We're in the north, holding our fingers crossed for Italy, and the people from the south in Switzerland who speaks Italian crossing the fingers for the Germans, because they don't like the Italians. Not in a bad way, but what is very near to you. You don't wanna, yeah, hear it every day, then they beat you. So, back to the game. Not the best graphics, of course. The graphics will evolve in this series, but it goes okay. And as I mentioned, it's very arcadey. Later, the series will run under the title Worldwide Soccer. Of course, with enhanced graphics and more simulation style of the sport. It competes back then to International Superstar Soccer from Konami, later known as Pro Evolution Soccer, and was, yeah, not that famous, but in my opinion also a good variation of the soccer game. When we are in sports game, here's the second part of the fantastic arcade sports title from Sega. This is Winter Heat, and I picked it over the other title because this was the game I bought first. And yes, what should I say? I like it. It has a great playability in most of the sports event, easy gameplay, a fantastic graphic, and as I mentioned, also this arcade feeling for what Sega was known back in the days. So, let's jump right in. Released in the year 97 or 98. You can go the full way, an arcade mode, individual matches, custom heat, and of course options. So I played it not for a long time, but yeah, let's jump right into it. As I mentioned, we are not, I don't want to play as the German. So also in this game I'll take the English sportsman. It contains speed skiing, ski jumping, downhill, short track, skeleton, slalom, aerial, bobsleigh, speed skating, cross country and snowboard. So I'll go for a short glimpse for downhill. Of course, this game has to be in this episode. It's a fantastic conversation of Outrun and makes every time a lot of fun to play. It's the fantastic and timeless classic Outrun. The Sega Ages series, or let me say brand, on the Sega Saturn in Europe only has one game disc and contains Afterburner, Space Harrier and Outrun. This now is, as you maybe can hear, the Japanese version with the new arranged sound. And if you a fan of this game, a real big fan of this game, and you have some money to spend and don't wanna spend it on beer or something else stupid, you can buy this game. You find it and you will have a great time. In Japan, or let me finish my thoughts. In America, the Sega Ages also was released on this free games on one disc compilation, and is very expensive. But in Japan, they released every game on a single disc, and also they released a disc with Castellar of Illusion and Quackshot, and if I have it right now, correct in my mind, also a disc who contains columns. But yeah, puzzle games are puzzle games. Let's be realistic and honest, it's not that I expect when I fire up my Saturn. When I'm thinking about Japanese games and older games, I think about Virtual Racing. Virtual Racing on the Saturn was released by Time Warner Interactive and was pumped up with additional tracks and additional cars. But when the game was released, it was very old. And the technique was already 2 steps in the future, as shown in Daytona, USA. I have still today more fun to play the original game, like on the Nintendo Switch there is a cool downloadable version, or of course the real original on the Mega Drive. It's not the case that this is a bad conversation, but as you see, you have your live changeable cameras, but yeah, Daytona looked better. Even the original Daytona USA, with his graphical troubles and problems, of course it was the newer game, and this one looks like, yeah, a little bit better version than the 32X version of the game, but doesn't play that great like the 32X version in my opinion. So you may be not mad at me when I'm saying very soon, yeah, next. So, and of course, as you maybe know me, Manx TT Superbike, a late game, or yeah, it was a late game, cause it was the 3rd year on the market of the Saturn, and the famous or infamous Bernie Stolar couldn't shut his mouth and already said that the Saturn isn't the future for Sega. So I mentioned it once in my Manx City Superbike special. That this game actually was converted by Psygnosis. And Psygnosis was a Sony studio and was very well known for the PlayStation lineup hits like Wipeout, so it was a little bit a surprise when I saw the logo of Psygnosis in this game. It's actually a quite acceptable, a good conversation of this game. The graphic, of course, is an eye catcher. That the camera angle swaps exactly in the way you steer and exact in the angle that you steer. So this game is of course a big win if you want to play it in the ego perspective, with the analog pad from the Saturn. Was actually the first analog pad out there. What else can I say about this game? Maybe that it comes straight out of the arcade, so, and you played it in the arcades on a motorbike, like in the good old days with hang-on and super hang-on. It features only 2 tracks, but they were also in the Saturn mode playable as reversed and mirrored. So you don't get much tracks in this game, but you're having a hell of a ride. Once again, Sega Sports, of course, and yes, if you're talking about the Saturn, you're talking also about Sega Rally. Just for a little info, you see on the bottom on the screen only a port of press start to play. That is on the reason. This is the PAL version. I also got the Japanese version of the game, and in that version you would have the complete writing in this game, but it only matters if you played like me on a modded Japanese system. And I'm talking about the Saturn and not of course the arcade one-up. So yeah.
Sega Rally Championship. Three, two, one, go. Easy right. Easy left. Easy right. Over jump. Easy right. Wow. Easy right. Check. Easy right.
So also here you can see this. Is it the correct word? Leave a commentary down below. The speedometer. We in Europe call it tachometer. So it's a little bit confusing for me, but you saw it very clear. It's only a part of the speedometer shown. But I started up the Japanese and modded Saturn. It's actually region free, so it plays everything. Japanese, European and American game discs. But I recognized it in this game that this little issue isn't here when I'm playing the Japanese version or play with a European system. Yes, of course, you know I'm a freak when it comes to Sega games, and I have actually 2 Saturns. Okay, I'll be honest, I got 3 systems. I have an unmodified grey Japanese, a white modified Japanese, region free modded, and a straight out of the box European system. You maybe hear now the clicky noises. It actually comes from the joysticks. They are original arcade one-up joysticks. I was too lazy to put in some new controls. I replaced the buttons, but I thought I replaced the joysticks then when they are broken down. So, and in many games I'm playing with the analog controller. Of course, the Virtua Fighter series shouldn't be missed out on such an eve, and for showcasing I pick, as you maybe already recognized it, the third incarnation. There was Virtua Fighter Remix, and Virtua Fighter 2. Later followed by Virtua Fighter Kids, who is actually also a cool game. It's a little bit sad that the Saturn emulation on emulation consoles like the Console X or Arcade Box or Raspberry Pi, everything what's out there is not that good. The only machine straight out who emulates it or plays it well enough is, yeah, the console. I'm a little bit tired of talking about Polymega because I'm pretty sure when you see this footage, I'm still waiting for my modules so if you want to play your Sega games from the Saturn on an arcade one-up, you have to hook up a Saturn. But that is not a bad thing, because I already spotted some differences, some little issues in the emulation of Outrun. The picture is a little bit brighter and you don't see the entire end credits. I will do a subtitle if I got any stuff from Playmarchi or worldwide distribution at the time when I first airing this episode here. What can I say? Virtua Fighter 2 is an awesome composition of the arcade hit. It's not arcade perfect, but it comes really close. I'm surprised how far I get in this short round. But yeah, now I lose and I'll show you another game. Who shouldn't be missed out in your Saturn collection? With a long delay from the PlayStation to the Saturn comes a port of Battle Arena Toshinden, who was back in the day praised as the better fighting game than Virtua Fighter. In my opinion, that's not true. It has, or had back in the day, the more detailed graphic, but with the second Virtua Fighter game, or even with Virtua Fighter Remix, the point of the better graphic was absolutely overdone. So, but yeah, as you see, the Saturn version comes with this cool intro, and that was back in the day a regular normal practice when a game was later released on another system than that they made an intro or do, like in this game, both an intro and a special character. If you remember when the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive had his times, and of course the, let me say, yeah, the console war, the big difference, the big thing was, as an example, in Street Fighter 2, that
I never give up.
you had in Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis Mega Drive the arcade intro. Also, the character select screen was was in Toshinden a little bit different, and you had, on the reason from
What is
the
a child
Saturn,
doing here?
some graphical differences. In this version you also have a story mode.
I can see you've got courage, all right. I warn you, though. Child or not, you're not getting in my way.
I'm ready for you. I've got to find my father.
Now, one, fight.
So let's fight and come to the differences. The Saturn had a strong hardware, but also not the easiest one to program it. So you had to learn a lot, and you can see it in this transparency effect, that when a program was lazy. There are also in later stages,
Now, two, fight.
also of course in this graphical differences, but for this showcase I don't believe I'm coming that far. In my opinion, the core of the game remains the same,
Knew you had it.
and when it was released on the Saturn,
Girls don't belong here.
I was of course on fire for it and about myself. Even back then, the Japanese version.
Now,
So
fight. Fire away. Fire away.
if you would compare the games side by side, you would of course see and talking about a lot of the differences. I know the differences are there. It's also in the first or in this stage with this mountain silhouette.
Round two, fight!
But the game isn't better or better. It was never a virtual fighter and will never be a virtual fighter. And least with the third incarnation of Torshinen, the franchise was
I
over.
must go on. I must.
When you're talking about the weakness or the weak spots of the Saturn, you also have to talk about the strengths. And the Saturn was an absolute 2D power horse. Unfortunately, I don't have Street Fighter Alpha 3. It was only released in Japan and today crazy as hell expensive. But I got the original release Street Fighter Alpha 2, of course Street Fighter Alpha 1 as well, and the also very expensive nowadays Street Fighter collection. So let's jump in it. Loading times who were acceptable, a fantastic sound, and of course stages with a lot of details. Argonaut Software presented a game. Croc, The Legend of the Gobbos. it's even as PAL version, even as Japanese version, it's expensive as crazy. Why? Maybe because it has his story. I started the system now correct, and I wanna know, I never tried it out, it's a premiere. I never tried it out on a Japanese system, and it looks like it has the same glitch. Yes. If you wanna have a real, complete in-box edition of the game, you need, I'm sorry, I show it to you, this little paper sheet. It has this graphical glitch when you starting the system with regularly put in the disc, close the CD door and press then the power button. This glitch will appear. So I open it now and close it again, cause I don't wanna bore you with the glitch or playing with the glitch. I just wanna mention that. Also, this glitch appears on, you know which emulation console. They don't erase that glitch. So I'm not sure, I don't know it, does this glitch also appears in the Japanese or American version. But now to the other part of the story from this game. As you maybe remember, if you're familiar with the history of this game, or you ever heard from the studio Argonaut Studios, if you don't hear that, you maybe realized that they developed a game who was pretty famous. It was the same studio then they made Starwing, aka Star Fox, for the Super Nintendo. They had in mind to make a jump and run for Nintendo with this famous little dinosaur called Yoshi. So they changed the sprite and Croc was born. Of course, it's not the best 3D platformer. It was an early title in 3D platforming. but I think it makes a lot of fun if you are willing to put some effort in and some time in it. But for nowadays standards, of course, the steering, yeah, is not that easy like games like the modern Marios. I show you the last game for this episode of the Lazy Video Gamer Show. It wasn't an exclusive. It was released before, also on the PlayStation, and even before that on the Atari Jaguar. Bone shaking hard, nice cuddly graphics. Here is the Saturn version of Rayman. I saying this on the reason it was also later released for, I believe, the Game Boy Advance, for practically every system. But when the game really was relevant, the PlayStation and the Saturn version were out there. Wonderful drawn intro with a cool audio, but yes, I would like to skip it, but it's also a funny thing about this game. I'm pretty sure on Japanese or American games this is not something you could talk about, cause on the back of the European games you have, of course, different European languages, and with my understanding of other languages, it's really straight through translated. But the German description of the game is hilarious. I read it to you, but translated directly, so yeah, it stands really on the back. Go on an exploration trip in the world of Rayman. A piece of paradise in the world of the PlayStation. Detailed graphics with 65,000 colors and fantastic animations. This is really written. Sorry, I have to show it to you. This is really written. On the back. In the world of the PlayStation. Wow! You're holding your Saturn game in your hand and wanna just imagine you're holding your Saturn game in your hand and you wanna explain to your PlayStation owning game body that the Saturn is an awesome console, and you read that on the back. It has some minor differences in the graphic, but it's a fantastic looking game. And it isn't that expensive, but of course it costs you, let me say, more than $50. For those few out there who doesn't know what that was, it was a safe spot. Yeah. So, and that was it for this week's episode of the Lazy Video Gamer Show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested how to mod the cab, an arcade 1-up cab by yourself, watch a video of me. And if you're tired now and want to watch a video, don't forget the Saturn plays with an MPEG card in it video CDs, and that is also a cool thing to do on such a cab. Have a great time, thank you for watching, and don't forget, the game is never over.